Happy Tuesday, Joy family. This is Pastor Mark joining you from the Joy Studios here at my office. And I hope you had a great Resurrection Day celebration this past weekend. It's really one of the greatest events in human history, where Jesus defeats death once and for all. And in defeating death, he defeats sin and the power of sin over our lives, giving us life with him right now and forever. So I hope you had an awesome celebration in all of that. But we're going to continue today in our walk through the armor of God. If you remember, we talk about when we're following Jesus, we face opposition, we face difficulties, we face attacks come our way in life. And really what they are is it's Satan. It's the evil one. See, these attacks are, even though they may seem physical sometimes, they're actually spiritual in nature. You see, Satan doesn't want to see us grow in our relationship with God, so he's going to attack our lives, trying to distract or discourage us in our relationship with Jesus, tripping us up, and making us ineffective. And we've noted that God gives us a defense. God gives us his power to fight this battle. And in Ephesians chapter 6, Paul likens it to the armor a soldier will wear in battle, except we're facing this in spiritual battle. And so far we've looked at the belt of truth, which helps secure us or protect us, and it frees us. The breastplate of righteousness, which helps us focus and feel safe in God's righteousness. And then the shoes of peace, of God's peace, right? That give us the stability and versatility in all areas of life. They basically give us traction. Well, today we continue with another very important piece of armor in verse 16 of Ephesians chapter 6. And Paul says this, "In all circumstances, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one." Isn't that cool? Flaming darts today. So it's getting pretty interesting with these pieces of armor and the attacks that come against us. Well, what Paul is saying is, just as the shield for the Roman soldier is a piece of armor that protects him, faith does this for the follower of Jesus. Now, it helps us to understand what this shield that Paul is talking about, this shield of the Roman soldier. And the Roman soldier actually had two shields. The first shield was a round shield. It should be coming up right here, magic of video editing. And this was made of metal, and it was very ornate. It was shiny, and it looked nice, and he would carry this shield, but he didn't often carry it in battle. Actually, this shield was more ceremonial in nature. He would wear it for different ceremony. He would carry it with him when he'd get in his dress uniform, and have it when he was at a parade or a ceremony or things like that. And that's very interesting, because sometimes we do this with our faith, don't we? We have faith, and we want to make it look very pretty, you know? And sometimes we can have faith like this in our lives. It's very impressive to look at. It looks great during peacetime, right? Maybe when we're at church or we're trying to show our importance over other people. But really, in the heat of battle, it doesn't do a whole lot of good, and not really what we need to survive. The Roman soldier actually had another shield, and this was his battle shield. And it's going to come up in the picture here, and it looks very different, doesn't it? First, you'll notice the size was different. It was about 2 feet by 4 feet, and sometimes even bigger, and it was curved. But you'll notice it's a big rectangle, right? And it looks like it would be pretty heavy. But what it was made of, it was usually made of wood, and then would have animal skins that were stretched over the wood. And then they would wet the animal skins, so when it would dry, it would almost be like hard as steel. But it would be extremely lightweight. So what this shield was really effective for is that the soldier could carry it out from his body a little bit, and he could wield it in any direction. So anything that came against him, he could move it pretty quickly, because it was very lightweight, but also it was big enough that in the heat of battle he could crouch under it and pretty much cover his whole body. And then when he was with other soldiers, they could link their shields together, almost making this impenetrable wall that nothing could get by. So that's what Paul's talking about with this shield, that it protects completely, making the soldier virtually untouchable. So when Paul's talking about this, and talking about it in faith, he's encouraging followers of Jesus to take up this battle shield of faith so that we can stand against attacks from the evil one. In the spiritual arena, however, this shield is not made of honed leather or anything like that. It's made of faith. So what are we talking about when we're talking about the shield of faith then? Well, faith is trusting in God, right? Trusting not in ourselves. Again, this shield wasn't something that the soldier would wear. It wasn't something that became part of him. It was something that he carried. Okay, so it wasn't his body that he was protecting himself with. It was something that he carried. And that's the same with us. It's not something that is in us, faith in us, or something that we have, but it's something that we carry. It's God. It's faith in God. And actually, when we're talking about this faith in God and really trusting God, this is the greatest battle really we fight in our entire lives, is to trust God and to trust God in all things. And I don't know about you, but really when it comes down to it, my own sin, my faithfulness, all of these things come down to, am I willing to trust God? And when we're talking about this faith that allows us to stand in battle, we're thinking specific areas of trusting God. First of all, do we trust the person of God? That he is perfect, that he is in control, that he's and yet in being all powerful, he's also loving each one of us as individuals. So the person of God and who he is, but also the plans of God, that he has a perfect and spectacular plan for my life, for your life, for our lives. And then finally, the promises of God, that he gives us things to hope for, that we can rest in, like his presence always, and even our final home in heaven. That when we rest in the promises of God, that these are guaranteed. They will come about. So when we're talking about faith, we're talking about the person of God, the plans of God, and the promises of God. And this kind of faith can help us stand firm in any situation. This kind of faith helps us endure times of trial when we can't see a way out. Helps us stay focused in times where things are happening to us that we don't understand. This faith helps us walk securely into uncharted waters in life, where we may not know what's going to happen, but somehow we know that everything will be all right. In a nutshell, this faith offers us complete protection against anything that may come our way, allowing us to stand firm in our relationship with Jesus. And this is why Satan will try anything in his power to whittle away or overwhelm our faith. So Satan attacks our faith. He'll try to take it apart, leaving our defenses down through temptations that may come our way. He's going to tempt us to fail in areas of life or to live by our own strength when it's impossible to. And it's interesting because he uses these times to trick our minds into thinking that God isn't enough, that we can't overcome, that he doesn't love us or care for us, or we've just gone too far to make it. Satan will try to twist our view of God so that our circumstances become bigger than he is. And sometimes these attacks are subtle, but more often not, when Satan attacks us, it's with overwhelming force. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever had those times in faith? Sometimes when faith is isolated, like I have to trust God just for one thing. I can trust God for that. All right, God, I can put all my focus into trusting you on this. But then when something else happens, let's say you have a health scare and you're like, man, all right, God, I can trust you with this. But then the next thing, your car breaks down. Now you have financial troubles, and then your job goes away, and then your kids have issues, and it just keeps piling and piling and piling, and it becomes overwhelming. And all of a sudden you're like, I can't do this anymore. That's this overwhelming attack. And more often than not, that's how Satan attacks us, designed to make us quake in our boots and lose hope. And this is why Paul, at the end of Ephesians chapter 6, verse 16, he talks about this shield of faith with which we can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one. Isn't that amazing? You see, small attacks on us, these little attacks, sometimes we don't see them, but they're usually small. But if a flaming dart is coming at you, I don't know about you, but I would see it coming. Now, what were these flaming darts? Well, remember, this shield is made out of, it's not made of metal, it's made out of these animal skins. So one way that the enemy could say, man, we can't penetrate it with our swords or with our spears or arrows, but yet maybe we can burn it. So they would try to get these flaming darts to stick in the shield, and then it would burn it. So this is what Satan does. And he tries to overwhelm it. Like one flaming dart might stick in it, we can flick it off. But if you're hurling them at us, at the shield, it can overwhelm us. And this is what Satan tries to do. Now the shield is interesting because it's curved, so it'll deflect them away so that we can help deflect it. But this is how Satan tries to overwhelm us. And so this projectile, though it's dangerous, we can see it coming. And often we can see attacks on our faith coming. They start small and then they start to increase over us. And if we give one little inch of saying, all right, I'm going to trust myself over God, then it can start to steamroll over us and become one extra thing and one extra thing. So how do we stand? How do we build this kind of faith that allows us to stand in any situation we may face? Well, we build it. We trust in God where we can. We start somewhere. You see, faith builds faith. So we trust in God in something, and then when he proves himself faithful, the next time we need to trust in him, it becomes easier to trust. So we start to build faith by placing our faith in God in situations. So, for example, if you're saying, well, it's hard for me to put my faith for my kid's future right now, that's okay. What can you put your faith in God for? And you start there, and then you start to build it. And that's really what we're doing when we're placing our faith in God, is saying, all right, God, I can trust you with my finances here. I can trust you with my health here. I can trust you with this. And sure, there's going to come times where we start to wane in that. But that's the beauty of the shield, is that it can be linked together and we can rely on others, and we can have others pray for us and lift us up and say, you know what, link together so our faith can be strong, and pray for me. So that's this piece of armor that we don't wear, we carry with us into battle. And it's the battle shield of faith that will allow us to stand firm, extinguishing all the darts of the evil one. So that's our study. Be encouraged by this today, and as we walk in this week, so that we can walk with faith.